federal government will hold talks with Jamaat-e-Islami today to end the party's sit-in at Rawalpindi's Liaquat Bagh. Emir Hafiz Naimur Rahman had warned of expanding the sit-in nationwide if demands regarding electricity bills and taxes are not met. As the protest entered its second day, Murray Road remained closed, affecting local businesses. Minister for Information Ataullah Tarar led initial talks with JI, and both sides agreed to formal discussions today. PTV News confirmed the negotiations and expressed hope for a positive outcome. JI has formed a negotiation committee headed by Liaquat Baloch. Rahman emphasized that rising power and tax hikes affect the entire country, urging political struggle within constitutional bounds. He appealed to various societal groups to join the protest. Approximately 3,000 participants from central and southern Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa joined the sit-in, many protesting inflation. JI demands the release of detained protesters for serious talks and criticized the government's response to the protests. Talks were set for today as the government aims to address JI's concerns. The Israeli military conducted strikes across Lebanon, blaming Hezbollah for a deadly attack in the Golan Heights. The strikes targeted Hezbollah infrastructure and weapons depots in several locations. Israel's foreign ministry condemned the attack on a football ground that killed 12 people, calling it a crossing of all red lines. Hezbollah denied responsibility, with unconfirmed claims suggesting an Israeli interceptor missile caused the incident. Iran warned Israel against further actions, blaming Israel for trying to distract from its actions in Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken reiterated support for Israel's right to defend itself but called for de-escalation. The Israeli Security Cabinet is meeting to decide on a response, while the UN and EU urge restraint to prevent further escalation. According to the UN, more than 350 people, including about 100 civilians, have been killed in repeated Israeli attacks on Lebanon since the start of the war on Gaza. In Gaza, 6 people, including a child, were killed in Israeli strikes on Khan Yunis. Medical sources report 15 bodies at Nasser hospital since dawn. The Israeli military issued new evacuation orders, expanding into areas where displaced Palestinians have sought shelter. The ground invasion last week displaced 180,000 Palestinians. In Al-Mawasi refugee camp, 3 people, including a child, were killed in an Israeli air attack. Reports indicate the death toll may be higher, with 5 confirmed, including children. Since 7th October, Gaza's health ministry reports 39,324 Palestinians killed and 90,830 injured. In the past day alone, 66 Palestinians were killed. Hamas claims its fighters targeted an Israeli command center with rockets. They also reported attacking Israeli forces near University College in Gaza City. At Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir el-Bala, doctors lack supplies, leading to patient deaths. Yesterday's attacks by Israeli forces on a school used as a field hospital resulted in 120 critically injured people brought to Al-Aqsa, with 36 pronounced dead, including 15 children. Russia hit Ukrainian energy facilities in Chernihiv and Zhytomyr overnight with drones, causing power outages. Ukrenergo, the national power grid operator, says most power has been restored. In Ploru, on the Romanian side of the Danube River, footage showed an explosion and smoke near the Ukrainian town of Izmail. Drone fragments were found in a Romanian village after Russian attacks. Romanian Foreign Minister Luminița Odobescu condemned these attacks, and Romania deployed Air Force planes for the second night to monitor the border. In Kharkiv, 3 Ukrainian soldiers were killed and 4 seriously wounded in a shooting incident among their own troops. Shifting to diplomatic efforts, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba warned that Russia is using Hong Kong to bypass Western sanctions. China's UN representative, Fu Kong, called for a political solution to the conflict, stating China has not provided weapons to either side. A US audit found $2 billion in errors in calculating equipment sent to Ukraine, allowing for more arms to be sent. Slovakia urged the European Commission to mediate talks with Ukraine over disrupted oil flows from Russia. In economic news, the G7 is working on a $50 billion loan to Ukraine, backed by frozen Russian assets. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said sanctions are hurting Russia's ability to get goods for its war. The Kremlin is worried about high inflation, with rates at 8.6%, more than double the target. The Russian central bank is expected to raise interest rates soon. Polls have opened in Venezuela's presidential election. Incumbent Nicolás Maduro faces a tough challenge amid an economic crisis. Nearly 21 million voters are registered. The opposition, united behind Edmundo González Urrutia, aims to end the 25-year rule of the United Socialist Party. This election coincides with the 70th birthday of former President Hugo Chavez. Concerns about the vote's fairness have been raised due to decisions by electoral authorities and arrests of opposition staff. Maduro claims Venezuela has the world's most transparent electoral system but warns of potential violence if he loses. Maduro's tenure has seen economic collapse and mass migration. He promises peace and economic growth, aiming to reduce oil dependence.